For a century, the automobile represented the ultimate private sanctuary. You could hit the open road and simply vanish, shielded inside a rolling steel box of absolute personal freedom. That era of unmonitored transit is officially dead. We have crossed into a reality where the vehicle is watching you back. Modern cars have transitioned from mechanical tools into digital panopticons. Every trip now generates a continuous stream of biological data, captured by sensors that monitor every movement and expression of the occupants in real time. Federal mandates have already codified this hardware into the global assembly lines. The internal tracking systems are being pre-installed today, driven by a regulatory timeline that targets the late 2027 model year for universal implementation. The vehicle sitting in your garage is ceasing to be an instrument of your own will. Instead, it operates as an active mobile terminal, built to extract your personal data and enforce strict compliance. This shift toward universal in-cabin monitoring is legally anchored in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Specifically, Section 24220 requires all new passenger vehicles to carry advanced impairment prevention tech as standard equipment. That signing established a timeline that forces the global supply chain to standardize this hardware across all production lines. The industry calls these driver monitoring systems, or DMS. Officially, they serve a basic safety function, scanning for physical impairment, sudden medical emergencies, or severe operator fatigue. But the hardware required to do that is intensely powerful. To meet compliance, automakers are packing dashboards with internal infrared sensors and high-definition optical scanners. These arrays utilize localized artificial intelligence networks capable of tracking exact facial geometry and even executing advanced lip-reading protocols to interpret your verbal commands in noisy environments. And they go well beyond visual tracking. These systems log physiological metrics continuously, measuring cardiovascular baselines like your heart rate and processing microexpressions to determine your exact cognitive state. By accepting these features under the banner of safety, consumers have allowed a high-fidelity biometric architecture to be permanently installed inside their private enclosures. Because the physical sensors and high-speed networks are pre-installed uniformly across the vehicle fleet, corporate strategies can easily exploit them to establish subscription-based revenue models. Thermal elements inside seating components remain physically present in the car, but they are digitally deactivated by software until a recurring monthly access fee clears the manufacturer's central billing server. This highly integrated software architecture also grants lenders the power to enforce financial compliance dynamically. If a consumer breaches a lease agreement, financial institutions can execute multi-stage remote repossession protocols. Phase 1 is public financial shaming. The lender bypasses private communication channels and transmits a remote command that locks the vehicle's central infotainment screen. A prominent delinquency notice displays directly on the dashboard, remaining permanently visible to any passengers or colleagues while the car is operated. If the default isn't immediately corrected, the system escalates to auditory coercion. The vehicle's audio management system forces continuous, discordant, high-pitched acoustic chimes through the cabin speakers, creating an intensely stressful environment designed to break the operator's psychological resistance. Finally, the software triggers a complete immobilization lockout. The onboard computer checks the vehicle's speed and external cameras to verify the car is safely parked in a stationary environment, like a driveway. Once confirmed, it permanently de-energizes the engine starter circuit, rendering the vehicle completely useless. The absolute endgame is autonomous self-repossession. In vehicles equipped with high-level automated driving systems, the technical architecture allows the car to independently disengage its parking brakes, navigate out of your private property, and travel to a commercial repossession depot on its own. Ownership is becoming an illusion. You are merely renting access to a machine engineered to actively degrade its own utility to extort payment. This loss of control extends deeply into data autonomy. Once your biometric or behavioral data is extracted and transmitted via cellular modems to corporate cloud infrastructure, its legal status shifts dramatically due to the third-party doctrine. Information voluntarily shared with a third party loses a significant portion of its constitutional protection against state surveillance. State governments are leveraging this constant connectivity to restructure public infrastructure financing. For nearly a century, road budgets relied on the gas tax. But as the market transitions towards highly efficient hybrid and electric vehicles, fuel consumption is dropping rapidly, depleting the tax revenues needed to sustain public roadways. To counteract the fiscal deficit, governments are engineering vehicle miles traveled, or VMT, taxes. This model shifts the fiscal burden away from fuel volume entirely and places it onto the physical distance you travel. This diagram shows how the automated mileage tax operates. The vehicle uses precise GPS geofencing and internal odometer telematics to constantly track absolute mileage metrics. It categorizes exactly where every mile is driven, partitioning the data between state interstates, county roads, and local municipal streets to determine the exact taxing jurisdiction. At designated intervals, the vehicle's cellular modem automatically packages these partitioned logs and transmits them directly to a state DMV server or a third-party financial clearinghouse, where the driver is directly debited or issued a localized mileage invoice. The state has effectively transformed the vehicle's onboard software and the navigation apps you rely on daily into an inescapable automated fiscal tracking network. The deployment of driver monitoring systems alters the legal mechanics of traffic enforcement. If an occupant glances away from the roadway or adjusts an unlinked radio, the internal AI logs a distracted driving event based on human ergonomics. Because there is currently no comprehensive federal law restricting the transmission of localized biometric behavior, this data does not remain isolated within the car. The vehicle can package the interior video frame, the timestamp, and the GPS coordinates into a digital packet and transmit it via a 5G modem directly to a law enforcement processing queue for an automated citation. This internal automotive software is designed to communicate seamlessly with the sprawling external surveillance infrastructure already established in major cities. Metropolitan hubs use massive operational frameworks, like New York's Domain Awareness System, to network thousands of sensors into a unified tracking grid. The physical hardware of this grid relies heavily on automated license plate readers and mobile surveillance pods. Devices like these highly visible blue light cameras monitor street corners, funneling continuous data streams back to centralized fusion centers. This technical display illustrates the final connection. When a connected vehicle drives past one of these checkpoints, the external camera reads the license plate, while the vehicle's internal modem broadcasts an encrypted token. This digital handshake allows police software to instantly match the vehicle's external identity with the exact biometric identities of the individuals sitting inside the cabin. This integration mirrors the scenarios in films like Minority Report or iRobot, where centralized networks can remotely commandeer a vehicle or lock the doors to reroute an occupant directly into a detention facility. In the real world, the barrier between private transit and state surveillance has been effectively removed. Big Brother no longer needs to mount cameras on telephone poles. We willingly financed the surveillance apparatus, accepted the terms of service, and parked the interrogation room in our own driveways.